finished. As in, is it the fault, the root cause is the creation of the euro itself? And really it was doomed to fail before it even started, and it's just a matter of time.
It's very convenient to put all the blame on Greece. And unfortunately, through our inaction, we have given people the ammunition to make this sort of argument. However, this argument is false. As Mr. Pagoulatos said, there is a structural problem in the architecture of the Eurozone that has not yet been addressed. And of course, there's also a problem with the banking sector, which is overexposed not just to sovereign debt, but also to other types of borrowing across Europe. Even if you were to take Greece out of the equation, European banks would still face a significant undercapitalization problem. And even if you were to take Greece out of the equation, the fundamental trading balances between the north and the south of Europe would still exist. Consequently, I would share your implied conclusion that the problem has to do much more with the architecture of the Eurozone. Hence, the overall solution to Europe's problem is not just to ring-fence Greece, or even to kick Greece out of the euro, which is something that I need to stress cannot happen with the existing treaties. There is absolutely no mechanism to force a country to leave the euro. Treaties would have to be changed in order for this to happen. A country can voluntarily move out of the euro, but there is no way for Europe to kick Greece out of the euro. But as I said, that would not solve Europe's problems. The problems of Europe are much deeper, and they certainly transcend Greece.
Is there any question, anyone who wishes to ask a question addressed to Professor Pagoulatos, because he needs to leave urgently? Yes, Mr. President.
All gentlemen agreed on the fact that we should not exit from the euro. Thank you. And after recently read about the suggestions being made about further monetary unification, not targeting, of course, at aiming the Greek economy, but suggesting that in that way we would assist the global economy. I want to ask if that would be out of the question, and why, or the other way around, if it would help in any way.
You're talking about global level monetary economic coordination. I think we should be seeing more of that under the G20. It is important that China plays its role in the global system. It is a problem that the renminbi is not convertible. If you have capital controls, you cannot really assume the global level responsibility and power at the same time. But we certainly need more cooperation at the global level. We have worrying instances of trade wars and currency wars taking place. And the historical pattern has been that at times of recession, and especially prolonged recession, governments tend to react in a protectionist manner. This would be the worst thing to have at the global level. But we need to maintain open trade at a global level. At the same time, we need to impose some sort of global level regulation on the financial system, on financial globalization.
Thank you very much. Okay. Yes.
I would like to ask a very specific question. Since most of you mentioned the public deficits, what is your opinion on the public and over-extensive public regulations on the economic life of Greece? For example, the state intervenes again and again, regulating who is responsible of doing what, who is responsible of moving capital, even on academic credentials. So how can this over-extensive regulation of the Greek economic life damages the chances of growth? And even out of my personal flavor, giving an example that some of the people who are actually now looking don't have, as far as the Greek state is concerned, their credentials, for example, to be professors at a downtown state university, because they lack the formal academic credentials of doing that. Thank you.
Well, I'm against that. but I have to go.
Quick comment on your very valid point. Obviously, when we talk about impediments to growth, the Greek bureaucracy always tops the charts. And indeed, when we're talking about shrinking the size of the state and making the state more efficient, we're not only doing that for budgetary reasons, we're also doing it because the state currently crowds out the private sector in a very, very aggressive manner. And we have business people in our panel who can certainly testify to that through their own experience. However, I would probably go a step further. Right now, the challenge for Greece is not just to remove the state from normal economic activity. The challenge is actually deeper. One thing that really concerns me over the past months, we've seen phenomena of the state breaking down in terms of its basic functions towards citizens. So I think that overall, we need to also be aware that in order to put our house in order, we literally need to rebuild the Greek state from scratch. When we're talking about tax evasion, for example, it is impossible to tackle tax evasion with the existing corrupt tax collection mechanism. It is beyond reform. That's my personal view. Consequently, we need to be much more aggressive in tackling these types of problems. This is an exercise that is not dissimilar to what other countries went through in periods of great transformations. Look at what happened with the Eastern European countries after communism collapsed. These are the sort of analogies that we need to make. And when we think in terms of how Greece is going to exit this dire situation in which it has found itself, again, think in terms of a comparison that was made by a professor at Yale, in a very interesting speech he gave at a TED event. He said maybe, in a country that is going through a phase of transformation, look at, for example, the Czech Republic on the one hand, an integrated European country that functions according to the rules of Europe, and think of Georgia on the other hand, a country that is plagued by corruption, marginalized, that is still chasing, the ghost of its path. So again, these are the sort of dilemmas that we need to face. But in terms of the solutions that we politicians need to propose, I think we need to be much bolder and much more aggressive than we have done so far. Because I think that the current medicine that we have prescribed is clearly not adequate to deal with the problems that we're facing.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Mitsotakis. I think we're going through what Schumpeter called creative destruction. And let's hope that we'll come out.
That's what we don't forget the creative
component. Just not stay. Yes. Right. Are there any other questions from the floor? Yes.
Well, sorry. To the three gentlemen who deal with the everyday economy, I would like to ask, are there any bright spots? Do you see any bright spots? I mean, everybody's gloomy, but in your everyday business, especially Mr. Papadopoulos, who is a banker, do you see any bright spots in the economy? And secondly, I would like to hear from you, what would be a leading indicator that the economy is turning around? In other words, what should we look for to understand that the situation has hit bottom? Because I think everybody is worried about where is the bottom, really.
Are you asking this?
The gentleman and all of the entire part, whoever wants to take it.
Try.
To be honest, there's no bright spot right now. But hopefully, after tomorrow's decision, and after a long and prolonged period of hard work and reorganization of many things in the country, and the fact that we have to understand that there is not a solution, that's the only solution, as we already mentioned, and a lot of effort from everybody, from politicians, from entrepreneurs, from the citizens, everybody. Because Greece is a small country, and there are one or two comparative advantages that we can elaborate on and be better than today. hopefully there will be some bright spot, but not after 1 or 2 years. It's a long way. It's a long way.
I'm actually more optimistic than my fellow panelists here. I will give you a couple of bright spots. One is the fact that many Greek companies are focusing much more of their efforts and resources on exports. That's a very good bright spot. I would also mention some non-economic bright spots, which I think are very important for the economy, one of which is education. Would you have thought it possible 3 years ago that a socialist government would have voted the new law on universities? Ultimately, the biggest long-term competitive advantage of any country is education, particularly in the knowledge world we live in. And I would also tell you another bright spot, believe it or not, which is very counterintuitive, is the fact that the minimum income at which you become taxed has been lowered. And let me explain why. If a large part of Greek society does not in any way, shape, or form pay taxes and does not see itself as a stakeholder, then you get irresponsible politicians in irresponsible policies, and you end up having the sort of problems we have now. The fact that some people will pay even a little bit of tax is of extreme importance for the social entity we have we call Greece, and ultimately creates a culture of responsibility, which eventually creates wealth and prosperity. And last but not least, a leading indicator. I think, unfortunately, if we want this country to go forward, our political, and I'm sorry to be very specific here, our political class, but not only our political class, are the various Greek elites have to sit down and figure out how to grow the pie. And if they do that, to the degree there's unity on that level, I will become even more optimistic about the future of the country.
Thank you very much. I'll take 2 more questions. Yes, gentleman there.
This is a question from Mr. Mitsotakis. We're here for the last 2 years only austerity measures, but we have also the European Investment Bank, which is 4 times bigger than the global bank, which